Well, welcome back to the channel and welcome to my house, somewhere you guys have not been before. We are actually not going to go to the parks today because today we are starting my brand new series teaching you guys everything you need to know about pin trading 101. The video today is going to be an introduction video where I teach you guys everything you need to know about pin traders, about scrappers, what different types of pins there are, etiquette when pin trading in the parks, the whole 9 yards. Then the next videos that I'm going to be posting is actually going to the theme parks, and I'm going to be showing you guys in each individual park where every single board and every single area where there might be cast members with pin trading pads or lanyards, where there might be some good areas to be on the lookout for pins, and so on and so forth. So this is going to be a very fun series. I've been working on this for a while. I've got some notes for you guys with everything I have learned over my past few years of pin trading and everything I think you would need to know if you are new to pin trading. So let's get started. Now, what is pin trading? When did it start? Why did it start? How did it start? Now, Disney pin trading started in 1999. It was part of the Disney Resorts celebration going into the year 2000, their Millennium Celebration. That's where they kind of kicked it off. They had an entire series of pins that came out then that you can still to this day find on like Whatnot and eBay and a couple other places for most of them, fairly good price. But that's what kind of started and kicked all of this off and made it snowball into the Disney pin trading that we have now. We are actually celebrating our 25th anniversary of Disney pin trading and the resorts. So at Disneyland, Disney World, and around the world, we are celebrating 25 years of Disney pin trading. Now, what is pin trading? It's kind of in the name. You take one Disney pin and trade it for another Disney pin. Now, there's a lot that goes into that, and it depends on who you are trading with. Now, if you're trading here in Walt Disney World, as long as you have an official Disney pin, which we will get into that's going to be another part of this video, and I will have timestamps down below of all the different sections of what we're going to be talking about today. But virtually at its core, it is trading a Disney pin for a Disney pin. As simple as that. That leads you probably into your next question, which is, how do I get Disney pins? Well, you can get them a lot of different ways, but the easiest way is going to be buying them when you are on Disney property in Disneyland or Disney World. They are pretty much in every single gift shop you walk into, but there are different types of pins, and we are going to be covering that first. Now, I pulled a bunch of pins out of my collection to show you guys a lot of different pins that you might run into while you are pin trading in Walt Disney World or Disneyland. Now, as I go through this video, you guys might see me reference Walt Disney World, and that is because that is my home park. That's where I am an annual pass holder, and that is what I'm the most familiar with, but I have pin traded in Disneyland. But anyway, let's jump into the different types of pins that you are probably going to run into, and I'm hoping I pulled a good example for each thing. We'll see. Hopefully I didn't forget anything. So first and foremost, when you go into a gift shop, you're probably going to first notice a big wall of what we call open edition carded pins. They are basically pins that come on a little white cardstock backer card. And they're usually from all kinds of different franchises. You'll have Marvel, you'll have Star Wars, you'll have Disney Animation, you'll have Disney Parks, you'll have Disney Princesses. This right here is an example of one pin that would have came on a carded back. Now, I don't keep any of the cards, so I didn't have any on me, but this is an example. It's just an Alice in Wonderland pin. This would retail for more than likely about $12, I believe. Usually what happens with pins is the more fancy, for lack of a better word, they are. So like the more layers there are to it, or the more enamel, or if it's glittery or sparkly, basically the more intense of the pin it is, usually the higher the price tag. But this is a pretty simple one. I think it retails for about $12.99. Those are the pins that most people are the most familiar with, because when you walk into a Disney gift shop, there is a bunch of them, and it's usually just on a big, huge wall of them. So that's what usually most people are familiar with. The next thing you'll see in those stores, usually right beside the open edition pins, so those carded pins, are mystery bags and boxes. Now that's really where the trading comes in. Most people will not trade open edition pins. And if you're getting into pin trading, I don't recommend trading open edition pins. Buy those to keep for yourself. They are not a great deal if you are trying to pin trade. Where you're really going to get into some better deals if you're just buying from the Disney parks is buying mystery bags and mystery boxes. Now, mystery boxes, as of May 2025, retail for right around $23 before discount. And in those mystery boxes, you will usually get 2 pins. Sometimes you don't, it depends on what you're buying, but it will tell you on the side of the box. And usually you get 2 pins in there, and right here is a good example of one of those. So this is an Adventureland series you can only get here in Walt Disney World. And this is the type of pin you would get in it. Usually, again, they're that flat enamel. They aren't multi-layered or anything like that. You're gonna find a lot of those with like the open edition pins or limited edition pins. But these are a really good option for pin trading, or if you just wanna collect them. And what works out really well is as you buy boxes, you're gonna get duplicates, and then you can trade off those duplicates. That is actually how I got started in pin trading, and it is a very slippery slope from there. Now, the even better deal for pin trading is going to be the mystery bags. Now, as of right now, May 2025, those do retail before discount for $44.99, so $45, and you get 5 pins with those, unless you're buying the individual baggies. There are some individual baggies that are $9.99 where you get 1 pin. Not the greatest deal, but sometimes the sets are very, very pretty. But an example of what you might find in those 5-pack bags is this Pumbaa here. This is from a Pixie plush series. He's very cute. And as you can tell, he's a little bit smaller than the one I showed you guys previously. And that's usually what you get in those $45 bags. They're like smaller, probably about the size of a quarter, but they are a little bit cheaper than buying the boxes. So the boxes come out to about $12-ish a piece, where the ones that come out of a bag come out a little bit cheaper. They come out a little bit under $10. So the pins kind of differentiate on their size and how intense they are based off of the price. Now, another great way to get into pin trading is something else they sell in the parks, which are pin trading lanyard starter sets. So right here is an example of one of the pins that comes on those pin trading starter sets. This is from a Star Wars set. These usually retail, I believe right now, for about $45 or up. It does come with a pin trading lanyard, and usually 4 pins is what they come with. I personally don't like the lanyards, so I don't think that those are a great place to start. I think the mystery bags are the better place to start if you just want to buy pins from the parks. I'm not a fan of the lanyards, but sometimes the lanyards have very cute pins on them, so I can see why people want to buy the lanyard sets, but a lot of times I just trade for these on the boards, but they are very cute. And then you have another option, which we call booster sets. Booster sets are usually with the lanyards, and all of this will be together in the same section of any of the stores that you walk in. But it's kind of like an open edition card, but you get a bunch of them on one big card. Sometimes there's 4 of them, sometimes there's 6 of them. It just depends. And right here is an example. There is a Pirates of the Caribbean set, and this is the dog from the very last scene of that ride. This comes in a booster set. I think there's like 4 or 5 of them for about $45. So you have a lot of options when you walk into Walt Disney World. And those are kind of the verbiage you guys will hear as well, like open editions. Those are the carded pins. Booster sets, like we just covered. You'll hear lanyard sets. You'll hear mystery bags, mystery boxes. They're pretty much all the same thing. They are Disney pins. It's just how you get the Disney pin is the differentiation of those words. Now, there are a few other types of pins you will hear people talk about here online or in the parks as you really get into pin trading. First and foremost, you might hear people say these supporting character sets. These are open edition pins that show a bunch of, you guessed it, the supporting characters from different movie franchises. So this is the Alice in Wonderland one, and there is a bunch of these. I believe they retail for right around $18, and people love to collect these. These are a really awesome pin set, but you'll hear people say, do you have any supporting character pins? That's what these are. Now, something else you'll hear people say is limited edition and limited release. What does that mean? Well, it is different from company to company. Loungefly and Box Lunch and Hot Topic define it one way. Pink a la Mode defines it another. I have kind of seen it every which way, but here in the Disney parks, limited release means yes, it is limited. It is going to be a limited release in some way, shape, and form, but they have not defined and not released to the public how many there truly are. Usually limited releases are pretty big, like it's a pretty big count. And a really good example that's come out this year are these Winnie the Pooh pin sets. This is a set that's coming out every single month. So at the end of the year, there will be 12 of these, and they sold a like wooden glass box that you can put all these in. It's going to be really cool at the end of the year. But if you flip this over, you will see on the back that it says limited release. And hopefully the camera's picking that up, but there's no number count beside it. And that is because, yes, it's limited, but Disney hasn't defined how many there truly are. Usually that means there could be 5,000, 10,000 of them, there could be more. But it's limited, but not extremely limited, which usually means limited releases are not worth as much as limited edition. Now, that's not always true. It really just depends on the character, it depends on the pin, it depends on the set, on how much a pin's going to be worth, which we'll get into that later. But 9 times out of 10, a limited release is going to be easier to get and not worth as much. Now, next up, let's talk about limited edition pins. I have 2 examples for you guys here. This one was released at D23 Expo in 2024, and this one was just released here in Walt Disney World. Now, limited edition means that Disney has defined how many pins they have made and how many they are going to sell. I have seen limited edition counts upwards of 5,000. I've seen them as low as 100. I think there's even some that are low as 10. And obviously, the lower amount that they made, the more that pin ends up being worth on the secondhand market. Now, that's not always true. I have seen pins with very low limited edition counts, and they are not worth very much. It really depends on what the character is, what movie it's from, what type of pin it is, what the pin looks like. It really, really depends. And the more you get into pin trading, the better you'll get at being able to determine how much a pin is going to be worth in the secondhand market. Talk about this Sorcerer Mickey pin. This was released last year at D23 Expo 2024, and this is the Joy on the Screen series. Now, this one was a limited edition of 1,000. And this goes for about $100 right now, give or take. It really depends. Sorcerer Mickey usually is worth quite a bit in the secondhand market, but this was a pretty low limited edition count. Where I have this one that is being released in the Disney parks right now. This is a Walt Disney World pin, and it is from this new storybook series, and you see it has Jasmine and Aladdin and Genie, where this one on the back has a limited edition release of 2,500. So since there's not as many as this one as there is this one isn't worth as much. And that's usually the way it goes with most of the pins. The less that there were made, the more it is worth. The more that there were made, the less it is worth. Now, the next type of pin we're going to talk about are hidden Mickey pins. These are pins that come out a new set, new series every year. We did have a little bit of a time during COVID where they didn't release any. They started releasing them again last year in 2024, and we have a set this year in 2025, and I'm assuming they're going to keep going. But these are very unique. There's usually a set that is released in Disneyland and a set that is released in Disney World. There will be 6 different sets with 6 pins within them. There will be 5 regular pins usually, sometimes 5, sometimes 4, it really depends. And then there will be a chaser and sometimes a super chaser. Now, what is a hidden Mickey pin? Here is a really good example. This set was released last year, and you will see down here in the corner, there is a teeny tiny little Mickey. That is your hidden Mickey. When you see pins on the board that have that little tiny Mickey, that means it is a hidden Mickey series. Now, these things are a hot commodity every year when they come out. Usually they are released about January, February, and they are not for purchase when they begin. They're actually on boards, on cast member pin trading lanyards, and on cast member pin pads. And so people go crazy for these pins each year when they release because you can't buy them. At least for a few months, you can't buy them. Now, this year in April, Disney released the bags. These are little silver bags that you can purchase for a rate around $19.99 before discount, and you get 2 pins within them, and you're going to get 2 hidden Mickey pins. Now, you have to pay attention when you buy the little silver bags. Make sure you are buying for the correct series, depending on which series you are trying to collect. Is it the 2024 series, the 2025 series? I think there's even ones from earlier than that are still available in the parks, but that is what a hidden Mickey pin is. Like I said, there's usually about 4 to 5 regular standard ones that aren't worth a lot, sometimes depending on the character, they could be worth more. But then you have a chaser. A chaser is going to be a lot harder to find, and it's actually probably going to be easier to find in those bags. They are very hard to find on the boards. The 2024 chasers, it has taken me into 2025 to find them on pin trading pads and lanyards, and it's usually because people come here, They open up those bags just to trade with them. They don't realize that they have the chaser, and they trade off the chaser to a cast member on a board. That's how I found most of them. I've only found one of the 2025 ones, and that's because honestly, I think it was put on a board as a mistake. So if you are looking for those chasers, they're usually worth more, they're harder to find, and you're gonna have to buy them out of the bag when you go to pin trading events. For example, the Headless Horseman Mickey ear hat that came out in 2024 is worth like $60 to $100 depending on who you are trading with. So some of these chasers can be worth a lot. But hidden Mickeys can be so fun to track down, especially when they're like first released in the parks. You can't buy them, so you are just hunting all throughout the parks trying to find them. Now, fortunately, if you're coming later in the year, let's say you're coming in September, October, November, December, these are going to become a lot easier to find. Hidden Mickeys that are released early in the year get much, much easier to find the later into the year that you stay. But there's something so fun about trying to go find these. And if you look online, there are sheets that you can find. I'll put some examples up here on the screen if you want to start looking for them. Now, unfortunately, these are faked a lot. The newer ones haven't been faked yet, but a lot of the older series have been faked, which we will talk about fake pins later in this video. Now, another type of pin I want to talk about is festival exclusive or event exclusive pins. For example, I have this Pascal pin that was released this year for Flower and Garden. A lot of pins are released for the different Epcot festivals. We also have ones that are released for the parties, like the Halloween parties, the Christmas parties. Jollywood had one. So those are a really fun thing to collect if you are coming to the parks for a specific event like that. Always be on the lookout for those. Unfortunately though, some of them have a tendency to sell out very fast during the event or festival. For example, this was a hidden box. So you got 2 of them in a box, and these sold out by like day 2 of Flower and Garden and have not restocked. So just something to keep in mind if you were on the lookout for any of the festival or event exclusive pins. Now, sometimes you will find Loungefly pins in the parks. Right here is an example of some Pixar Loungefly pins I actually just opened not too long ago. And Loungefly pins, as of right now, are allowed to be traded in the Disney parks. They have the Disney copyright on the back, which is one of the rules on Disney's website that it needs to have the Disney copyright. So as of right now, the cast members are letting us trade Loungefly pins. And if you find Loungefly pins in the parks, they are tradable. You can bring them to trade as long as they are like Disney, Pixar, Star Wars, something like that. You don't want to bring like Sanrio characters or something like that. It has to be within the Disney world, the Disney bubble of Loungefly pins that you are bringing. But you might find these on the board sometimes, and I actually get really excited when I find them because I don't buy a lot of Loungefly pins, so I love finding them in the parks. And you'll know it is a Loungefly pin because it's going to have this backer on it, like these little crowns on the top. That is how you know it's a Loungefly pin. And then it also sometimes will say Loungefly on it. Kind of depends on which series it is. Now, when you get really into Disney pin trading, you might hear people talk about Walt Disney Imagineering pins. And I actually just got my first couple of these a couple weeks ago. So I'm happy I can finally show you guys an example. Now, these pins you cannot buy in the parks. These are actually exclusive to cast members, and there's a couple other routes of getting them if you have access to like the Mickey's of Glendale store in Hollywood, the El Capitan, the ice cream soda shop out in California. There's a couple different ways to buy them. I'm going to save you guys all of that information purely just because this is an intro to pin trading. Everything you need to know about pin trading, not necessarily. This is kind of the more intense side of pin trading, and a lot of money can get tied up in these. But if you ever hear somebody say WDI or Walt Disney Imagineering, that is what they're talking about. These are exclusive pins that only really pretty much cast members can buy. Like I said, there's other routes to get them. There are resellers that sell them. It's a whole other world of pin trading. And if you guys are interested in that, leave me a comment. We can do a video on it. But for example, like this pin, I bought it for $33 and it goes for like $80. So a lot of people who are getting into the more intense side of pin trading like to buy WDI pins because they accrue some value behind them, and then you can trade them for other WDI pins. It's a whole other side of pin trading and not something you're really going to experience if you're in the Disney parks. Disney parks, it's much easier, much more straightforward, and you're not going to find WDI pins on the boards or with cast members or anything like that just because they have such a high value to them, and it is a whole other world of pin trading. While we're talking about WDI, let's talk about an easy way to get them actually. Most of the time they are kind of hard to get. You have to know somebody to be able to get them because they're only available to cast members, but they do sell them at the Disney D23 Expos and Destination D. So D23 Expo happens every other year out in California, and Destination D happens every other year here in Florida. So like last year it was D23 Expo, this year it's Destination D, next year it's D23 Expo. You get the gist here. And at those events, Mickey's of Glendale and some of the other like Disney Hollywood and some of the other ones that sell these like limited edition pins that are only available to cast members have pop-up booths. So Mickey's of Glendale will be there and they will be selling the Walt Disney Imagineering pins. Those are a really good option if you're going to those events to get those pins. Actually, Disney just did a little pop-up shop at Coronado Springs in April of this year, where they brought in a bunch of older merch from Walt Disney Imagineering, so from Mickey's of Glendale, and sold it. That is how I got that Frozone pin, is I went to that event and they were selling some of the incredible Walt Disney Imagineering pins. So there's a lot of different options to getting them. You don't have to know a cast member. You can also buy them secondhand. Unfortunately, the resale value on them is kind of crazy depending on what character and what you're buying. Like Disney profile pins, those can go for thousands of dollars. There is a lot that goes into the Walt Disney Imagineering pins, which is why that would be a whole other video. That is not something you want to get into right off the bat. Now, just for funsies, we're going to talk about pink a la mode pins. I don't really think you'll find these in the parks that often, even though I will say, they do throw some good deals on their pins sometimes, and I could see people trading them in the parks, but I doubt you're gonna find them that often. Pink a la mode is a officially licensed Disney pin retailer online. They don't make Disney parks pins, but they do make like official Disney copyright pins. So in theory, because they have the copyright Disney on the back, they could be traded in the parks. They do follow the rules on Disney's website, but some of these are kind of expensive. I would not recommend trading them in the parks, though I have seen them go as low as $6, which wouldn't be a horrible price for a trader. But this is an example right here. It is a Rapunzel pin that I picked up off their website. And if you want to start buying like bigger, as you can see, like this pin is way bigger than some of the other ones I've showed you guys. They're a really good website to start collecting Disney pins from. If you just want to like boost your own collection that you're displaying in your own home, they're a really good option, and their pins aren't astronomically expensive, and they do really good deals sometimes. I will put their website down below, and they are officially Disney copyrighted pins, so you're good there. Another type of pin you might hear people talk about are the international pins. So we do have international parks. We have Shanghai, Tokyo, Hong Kong, Paris, even Alani has pins. Any of the Disney international locations also have pin trading, or at least they have pins. I shouldn't say pin trading. They have pins. Like, for example, in Tokyo, they really don't do pin trading, but in Disneyland Paris, they kind of do. Pin trading is definitely way bigger in the United States than in any of the international places, but they do sell pins there, and that opens up a whole other door of buying international pins. A lot of times you have to buy those off of resellers, and that's a whole other thing that, again, I wouldn't recommend if you're just getting into Disney pin trading, but those sorts of pins do exist, and they are very fun to try to collect. Now, that is all the different types of pins you're going to see. At least I think I covered all of them, from boxes, from open edition, from WDI, from pink a la mode, all these words that you might hear people saying online, or you might hear people say in the parks. Now you kind of know what some of that means. But where all can you buy pins that's not in Walt Disney World? Obviously, we just covered all the different types of pins and the ones that you can buy in Walt Disney World. Where else can you buy them? We have a couple different options. First and foremost, like I said, you can buy them in the Disney parks. You can buy them at the Disney character outlets that we have here in Orlando. We have two of them, one in Vineland and one in International. The Vineland is about 20-ish minutes from Disney World, depending on which park you're at or which resort you're at. And it's a really cool place to go over, take an Uber if you have a rental car, whatever, and go over there and check out all the stuff they have in there. It's all the Disney parks merch that they're trying to clearance out. So it's like older stuff that they want to get rid of, even though most of the time it's not that old. They kind of turn that stuff through there about every 3 months. But that's where I get a lot of my pins. I have gotten pins as low as $1 there. Right now, I sit at an average of $3 to $5, but be on the lookout. You'll find some really, really, really cool pins there, and those can all be traded in the Disney parks. That's where I get most of my pins. That is usually your best deal and the most easily accessible pins. Now, your other option is Pin HQ. Pin HQ is a small store here in Orlando. It's right outside of Orlando in a place called Winter Garden. If you have a rental car or you're taking an Uber, it's about 20, 25-ish minutes from Walt Disney World. And they sell a bunch of pins in there. And not only do they sell pins, they sell things to put your pins on. Now, there is a bunch of different options. Go check out their website. But one thing that they have that's really, really cool is their stick and go technology. So this is like a pin board that you can put your pins on a display or carry them around with you. But what's awesome is you can take your pin. So this is that hidden Mickey pin we were talking about, and you can just shove it in and shake it about, and it doesn't come out. Isn't that awesome? So you don't have to carry around all the little Mickey backers and have to pull them off to then hand to a cast member and then get another one back. It's a whole, this makes it so much easier. I really like their products, but they also sell a bunch of pins in their store. So that's another option for you. Now, you do have some options online like the disneystore.com. That is Disney's official website, and you can find pins on there. They also release pins every Tuesday on there. So some of the limited edition, limited release pins that we have here in the parks do get released on Shop Disney. Just know that they are very hard to get on the Disney Store or Shop Disney. They've kind of renamed themselves a couple times now, but if you search either one, it'll come up. But there are other options to getting pins online. But unfortunately, this is where we run into fake pins. Unfortunately, you can never have something just be perfect. Somebody has to figure out a way to make money off of it and kind of cheat the system, which is where fake pins come into play. There are a lot of them on the internet. This is basically where the enamel stamp like mold that these pins are made in. There's like a metal mold that everything gets poured into and shaped to create a pin. Sometimes they get duplicated or sold on the resale market in China. So you will see manufacturing places create a bunch of pins that look exactly like real Disney pins because more than likely they are either a duplicate or an extra of the mold that created the original pin. They start making fake pins of. A lot of times they're much, much lower quality. There's a whole way to see how a pin is fake, which we will be getting into here in a little bit. But unfortunately, when you're online, it is very, 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 very common to find fake pins when you are scrolling through eBay, when you're scrolling through Amazon. I've seen them on Etsy. I've seen them on Mercari. I've seen them basically on every single online retailer. There are fake pins on there. Just know that if you are on there and you see something where it says like official Disney pins and you're getting like 100 Disney pins for $20, $50, something like that, and you're getting pins for as low as like 25 and 50 cents, those aren't real pins. Those are not real pins. And a lot of times you will see them where they have them each pin in an individual baggie, like a little teeny tiny baggie that like beads or jewelry would come in. Those are a telltale indicator of fake pins. If you order them and they come in little individual tiny bags, fake pins. They are fake pins every single time. So you have to be on the lookout for those. Just know that if they're showing them in like individual bags, if they're incredibly cheap, like super, super cheap, under $1, under even $2, they are more than likely fake pins. But it doesn't mean that eBay and Mercari and whatnot, which is another really good option, you can't find good pins on there. It is possible to find good pins on eBay and on Mercari. You just have to know what you're looking for. And I wouldn't really recommend buying things on there until you get a little bit of experience under your belt and you're kind of familiar with what's being sold in the parks, so you can be on the lookout for those when you're looking at listings. But it is possible. I get big bulk trader things from eBay all the time. I get them from Whatnot. I get them from Mercari. You just have to be on the lookout. There are also Facebook groups out there. If you look over on Facebook, there are some official Facebook groups that sell official pins. So there are options. You just need to know what you're looking for. Familiarize yourself with what a fake pin is versus what real pins are. And like I said, I wouldn't necessarily start buying lots online until you have a little bit of experience under your belt. Unfortunately though, people do buy these fake pins and trade them in the parks. So when you go to Walt Disney World, Disneyland, you are going to find fake pins on the boards. You're going to find fake pins on the cast members' lanyards. You're going to find them on the pin pads. And it's a whole situation. Unfortunately, Disney doesn't do their best at policing a lot of that. They're getting better. Some cast members know, some cast members don't. So that's why it is very important for you to be educated on what a fake pin is or not. So I have a box of them right here. I actually use this for my Faked Friday series, and I use these for educational purposes. I do not trade these, but I'm going to show you guys some good examples of fake pins and what to kind of be on the lookout for when you're in the parks trading. But make sure to subscribe here and follow me over on TikTok, because every Friday we do Faked Fridays where I teach you guys a new commonly faked pin and why it is fake. Some good examples of fake pins are ones that are missing the enamel or have divots in them. As you can kind of see here, the enamel doesn't rise all the way to the top on this one, which is a really good example of a fake pin. These pins are made very, very, very cheaply, and you can usually tell that it is fake just because it's going to look a lot cheaper than the ones you see in the stores. Another good way to know if a Disney pin is fake is check the spelling on the back. I don't know if the camera's going to pick this up, but this says the what Disney World. It does not say Walt Disney World, so be on the lookout. A lot of times they spell stuff wrong on the back. China is usually spelled wrong. Disney is spelled wrong. Just kind of be on the lookout on the backs of them because things are usually spelled wrong. Here's another really good example. You see the Mickey waffle print on the back of this does not go all the way out to the edges. And when you are looking at pins, when they are real, this Mickey waffle print that is printed on the back should go all the way off the edges seamlessly like one print. And this one here, you can see it has like a little bit of a brim around it. But those are some of the most common ways to tell if a Disney pin is fake. The more you pin trade and the more you get into Disney pin trading, the better you will get at telling. But be on the lookout on the fronts of them. If there is enamel missing, if it kind of just looks like there's a divot in it, if it's really shiny. Sometimes these really, really shiny ones, like this is a good example. See how shiny it is? That doesn't mean that Disney does not make shiny pins, but this pin, for example, should be a like matte flat enamel, and you can tell it's like kind of shiny. Also, look on the backs, see if things are spelled right. See if you can read it. A lot of times the fake ones, because the way it's pressed, you cannot read the words, and the more that you can't read the words, the higher chance it is that the pin is fake. Be on the lookout for that waffle print. There's just a lot of different ways. You can also do some Googling, all of that, just try to see if there's other ways to tell if a Disney pin is fake. But unfortunately, there are a lot of fake pins. And what I have found to be the most useful is go on eBay and look at those fake lots and familiarize myself with the fake lots and what is being offered in those fake lots so that when I go into the parks, I already know that they're fake because I know they are part of those fake pin lots. And unfortunately, that hidden Mickey that I showed you earlier, this one is real, but a lot of the older hidden Mickey series have been faked. It is unfortunate, and the fake pin situation is just growing and growing and growing at Disney World and Disneyland. I know they've really cracked down on it in Disneyland Paris, but we just haven't gotten there here in Walt Disney World. But some of the cast members are getting better at it, but it's just up to you, and it's important that you are educated that there are fake pins. I've already showed you guys some ways to tell if they are fake pins, and just be on the lookout. Kind of familiarize yourself with what's being offered in the parks at the time, because those are the ones you're going to want to look out for on the boards. Now, one important thing to know is Disney releases new pins every single month. And at the beginning of the month, Disneyland, Disney World, and Disneyland Paris actually release a flyer of everything they are going to release that month. It could be limited edition, limited release. It could be new boxed pins, new bag pins, new open edition pins, just anything new that we'll be releasing in the park. They do release a flyer at the beginning of the month, and you can usually find that on social media. Now, most new pins are released on Tuesdays, both in the parks at Disneyland and Disney World, and on Shop Disney at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, the Shop Disney, trying to get things on the Disney Store, shopdisney.com, that is a whole other ballgame and very hard to do because you are fighting against bots. But it has also become very crazy in Disney World and Disneyland. People are rope dropping pins and waiting in line for multiple hours for pins. Like, it is kind of getting a little crazy. I won't lie to you guys, but if you're on the lookout for new pins and you're here on vacation, Tuesdays are a really good day to try to go hit some of the areas in the parks where they sell pins to see if they have the new ones, especially if it's a series you want to try to collect. Now, if you're going to get really into pin trading, one thing to think about is how you're going to carry your pins. Disney does sell lanyards. Like I said, they are my least favorite version just because pins have a tendency to fall off of lanyards. They're kind of annoying when you're getting on rides and stuff. They can get caught in your hair. They're hot and sticky around your neck when it is 100 degrees here in Florida. So I honestly don't think they're the best option, but there are a lot of options out on Amazon and eBay. Disney also sells different bags and things you can put them in, but my favorite are these products by Go Pin Pro, using their stick and go technology. So like this is one of their pin folios. I can stick pins into this and just off I go into the parks. This is my preferred method, but there are different versions out there. You can carry a cork board with you and stick it in a bag. It's truly up to you on how you want to carry your pins, but be prepared. I don't like to carry them in a little baggie because they have a tendency to scratch against each other, and then your pin will be messed up. So think about that if you're planning on pin trading in Walt Disney World or Disneyland before you come, so that way you can be prepared, because there are options on Amazon that are much, much, much cheaper than what they're going to sell here in the parks if you're trying to pin trade on a budget. Now, one thing we haven't talked about is the value of pins. And the more you get into pin trading, the more important that statement will become. But I do think even if you're just going to start trading in the parks, get familiar with the value of pins because you don't want to lose out in that scenario. You don't want to trade a $10 pin for a $5 pin or a $20 pin for a $5 pin. And if you trade with people here in the parks, some people are good about making sure that you get value for value. Some people, unfortunately, are not and want to take advantage of those who don't know how much their pin is worth. Now, you don't need to do a lot of research on it. You don't need to do a lot of Googling or anything like that. One of the easiest things to do while you're in the parks is download the Google Chrome app. I download the Google Chrome app and it has a search by picture. So I can have the pin in my hand, take a picture in the Google Chrome app, it searches the internet, and I can usually find some listings to understand what the value of the pin is. Also, if you've bought them in the parks and you paid $10 for it, well, that is its value for the most part. It's just kind of important to have a general understanding of what pins are worth, especially if you're trading in the parks, because on the board, you don't want to put a $20 pin down for a munchling that's only worth about $6 or $7. So kind of keep that in mind. You can Google the values of stuff and also just kind of keeping in mind what you paid for them as well. Also, sometimes you have pins like the limited edition pins, like this one that I showed you earlier. I paid, I think, about $22 after discount for this pin, but this pin is now worth like $40 or $50. So pins can appreciate in value, just like everything else in the collector world. Things can appreciate in value, and as you get more and more into pin trading, you will understand that different characters are worth more. Like, for example, Hades, he is like one of the most infamous villains. His pins are worth a lot. Different Disney princesses, their pins are worth different amounts. It really just depends. And it depends on how many people like that character, how popular that movie is. Like, for example, Goofy movie pins, those can be worth a lot because there's a large fan base surrounding that movie, but not a lot of pins made. I collect Wally pins, and Wally pins are worth a lot because they don't make a lot of them. So it really depends, and the more you get into pin trading, the more you will learn. But when you are starting off, it is kind of important when you're pin trading to just have a general understanding of, okay, I paid about $5 for this pin, so I should trade it for another pin that's worth about $5. And like I said, the Google Chrome app is a perfect option for that. You can search right in the app using a picture, and you can find listings like on Mercari or eBay for what a pin is worth if you don't know. Now you have learned everything about the background of pin trading, what it is, how to get pins, the different types of pins, the values of pins, fake versus real pins. And now you are in the parks and you are ready to pin trade. Let's talk about the different types of pin trades you will run into when you are in the Disney parks. Now, first and foremost, the easiest one is just on a pin trading board. That is the most common form of trade you will see. And in my next few videos, we will be going into the parks and I will show you guys where every single board is as of May 2025. But for the most part, pin trading boards are going to be in retail locations within the parks. And you are on the lookout for the one and only Mickey Mouse. You are going to find black pin trading boards shaped like Mickey Mouse. There will usually be a cast member with it, and you can then stand in line if there is a line. Please, if there's a line, stand in the line. Do not pass everybody. That is not good pin trading etiquette in any way, shape, and form. And a lot of times the cast member will tell you that there is a line. But wait in the line, you'll walk up to the board, take a glance at it, see if there's anything you want, and then you can trade for that pin. Some cast members will ask you to ask them before you trade. Some won't. It just really depends. A lot of times I just ask if I can do a quick trade, and you trade pin for pin. But again, keep in mind that value part. You don't want to trade a $20 pin for a $5 pin. Just something to keep in mind. But you'll trade pin for pin, make sure they are Walt Disney World pins or Disney Parks pins, I should say, and you can trade those two pins. That's your most common type of pin trade you are going to find in the Disney parks. Second to that is going to be trading with cast members. Now, trading with cast members went away for a long while due to COVID and actually just came back in the spring at the start of Flower and Garden last year. Cast member trading is very popular as well. You are going to find two different types of trading with cast members. First and foremost, you will see cast members with a lanyard around their neck. It'll be a black lanyard with a bunch of little pins on it. You will also see cast members with like a little pad on their hip. And sometimes it is a crossbody that they have on that then goes into a little pad that sometimes they have pins in or their water bottle or something like that. And now, as of last year, they released basically a little square that has a clip on it that some of them clip to their belt loops. So as you're walking through the parks and you're interacting with cast members, and these could be any type of cast member. This is not just in retail stores. This could be at ride locations. This could be at restaurants. This could be janitorial cast members, which again, will cover all of this in my next few videos on where you might find some of those cast members, but just be on the lookout. You're looking for lanyards and you're looking for pin trading pads on the hips for pins. You'll walk up to that cast member and ask them politely, can I do a pin trade with you? Or if you can't see their pins, you can ask them, hey, can I take a look at your pins, please? The cast members will show you their pins, and then you can ask them, hey, can I trade you for your Sebastian pin? Sometimes, if I don't really care the pins I have, I will let the cast members see my pins and say, hey, I'll let you pick. Which one would you like to trade for? Sometimes I'll hand them a pin if I only have so many and I want to specifically trade one thing for the other. It really depends. There's not a lot of protocol surrounding that. You can just trade whatever pin you want out of your book as long as it is a Disney Parks pin. Or sometimes, like I said, if I don't really care what I have, I'll let the cast member join in the fun and I will let them pick which pin they want to trade for me with. Now, before we get any farther into this, one thing I do want to note is that when you are pin trading either with a cast member, on a board, on a box, whatever it is, whatever type of trade you're doing, you can only do 2 trades per person. So you can only trade for 2 pins on the board, 2 pins with the cast member, so on and so forth. Just make sure you are being polite when you do this. The cast members are very busy, and a lot of times they are in the middle of doing something, so I try to let them finish whatever task they're doing. If like they're putting clothing away in a store or something like that, I will try to let them finish whatever they're doing and then ask politely if I can pin trade with them. Sometimes there's also a line to pin trade with cast members. It really depends. Maybe that cast member has some really, really, really good pins, and sometimes there's a line for it. So just wait patiently, be polite, be calm, be courteous. Remember, the cast members, for most of them, that is not their full-time duty. Pin trading is not. They are in the middle doing other things. That is just one task in their job. So just make sure you're being polite, be calm, be nice, be easy to the cast members. Just remember though, be polite to the cast members. For most of them, pin trading is like not their full-time duty. Sometimes there are ones that is their task, is to man the pin trading board, and that is their duty for their that certain part of their shift. But for most of them, if they have the lanyard on or they have the pin pads on their hips, they're probably in the middle of doing something else. Maybe they're restocking the sales floor or something like that. So just be courteous of all of that. I try not to make a cast member pin trade with me if they have a big stack of clothing in their arms that they're trying to put up on a shelf. Let them finish whatever they're doing before you ask them to pin trade with them. But a lot of them love to pin trade. They get so excited about it, and it's a very, very fun activity. Just please be nice to the cast members when you pin trade with them. Now, 2 things you might run into when you pin trade with a cast member is blind trades and trivia trades. You'll know that a cast member has blind trades or trivia trades because on their lanyard or their pin pad, they are going to have a pin that is backwards. And how you know a pin is backwards, we're going to use this Winnie the Pooh set as an example, is you aren't going to see the pin. You're going to see the Mickey backer. And that's because they're hiding it from your view because they want you to either do a blind trade or a trivia trade with them. A blind trade is basically you don't know what pin you're going to get. It's hidden. You can only see the Mickey backer, but you know they have a pin. So you're going to pick a pin from your set of pins that they don't know what they're getting either, and you trade blind trade pins. So you get their pin, you don't know what you're getting, and they get your pin, they don't know what they're getting. That is a very common one. But also what is very common is trivia. And some cast members will actually let you pick. They'll say, would you like to do a blind trade or trivia? A lot of times I like to do trivia just because I love doing trivia so much. But trivia is trivia. They're going to ask you some sort of Disney question. It could be Disney parks, it could be Disney animation, it could be Disney movies, it could be Marvel, it could be Star Wars. And sometimes they will say, hey, do you want a Disney parks, a Marvel, a Star Wars, a this, a that? And they will let you pick what sort of trivia you want to do. Some trivia is harder than others. I have had some very hard questions, and usually the cast members are pretty good about, depending on the age of the person who is pin trading, trying to cater that question to the age of the person who is pin trading. I've seen usually with little kids when they're pin trading, the cast members ask much easier questions. It's us adults that get the hard ones, but it's very fun. And some of the cast members are getting very, very, very creative with their questions, which I love. I love the creative questions, and any cast members who are watching this, you guys have some of the best trivia. I love it. It's nothing, like it's so fun to get that trivia question right and you get an awesome pin. Usually cast members are pretty good about the harder the trivia question, usually the better pin you get, or at least that is what I have noticed. I don't know if it's intentional, but that is what I have noticed. And I love doing blind trades and trivia. Also, a lot of cast members who are aware of fake Disney pins, because there are so many fake Disney pins in circulation, they keep their real Disney pins as blind trades or trivia. So if you see blind trades and trivia, you probably want to go for it because more than likely it is going to be a real pin. That's not always true. I've definitely had some scenarios with blind trades that I traded for a fake pin, but for the most part, if you're doing trivia, you're probably going to get a real pin. And a lot of times they are those new hidden Mickeys. There are those new 2025 pins. Now, the very last type of trade you might see are the box trades, or at least that's what I call them. There might be like a better term for that, but they are mystery boxes that you are going to find usually at the resorts. I've never seen them, I don't think. Maybe I've seen them once or twice in the parks, and I couldn't tell you a permanent place that one is in the parks. I usually find them in the gift shops or in the lobbies of the Disney resorts. But it's a box with a bunch of little boxes in it, and those little boxes have numbers on them. You can then ask the cast member to pull a number. So I say to the cast member, hey, can you pull box number 10? And they will show you the pin inside of there, and you can determine if you want to trade for it or not. It's kind of like a fun version of blind trades. And again, you can only do that twice, though each person in your party could technically do it twice. So if there's 4 of you, you would have 8 tries, technically, if you wanted to stand there for that long. Now, another type of trading you might do is trading with other people in Walt Disney World. You will very commonly see this happen in Hollywood Studios and Epcot. They trade in SIDS in Hollywood Studios, which we'll cover in that video when we go to Hollywood Studios, and they trade under Spaceship Earth in Epcot, which again, we will cover when we go to Epcot. But just know that some people who trade in the parks are not as kind as others, and that goes back to understanding the value of your pins. Make sure that you don't have somebody trick you, for lack of a better word, into trading a $30 pin for a $5 pin. Just be on the lookout. It doesn't mean that you can't trade with people in the parks. I have traded with some really awesome people in the parks. I have made friends. I have met people in line and traded pins. Like, it's just so fun. And that's actually why I really like having some sort of bag, like the GoPin Pro bags or something from Amazon that's showing off your pins, because that is a telltale indicator to other pin traders that you have pins to trade. I have quite literally just had people walk up to me and say, hey, I see you have pins. Can we pin trade? And I've done amazing trades that way. So it's a really fun activity that you're not only interacting with cast members, you can interact with other guests as well. But like I said, just make sure that you understand your value of your pins, because sometimes you can be on the losing end of that if you are not well educated. But for the most part, as of right now, those are going to be your most common types of trades. So a pin board, the mystery boxes, or trading with a cast member, or blind trades or trivia. Like, those are the most common things. I've seen other things, but those are the most common ones as of right now. Who knows, Disney might do something different in the future. I've seen where they've spun a wheel to look at pins at events and different things, but in the parks, most commonly, that is what you are going to see. Now, another option for pin trading is pin trading events. Now, if you're here on vacation, you are probably not coming specifically to go to a pin trading event, but if you are from Orlando or anywhere in Florida, there's a lot of pin trading events that go on in Florida. There are pin trading events I've seen go on all over the United States, not even anywhere near Walt Disney World. I've seen them in Chicago, in New York. I've seen them all over the place. So if you're getting into pin trading, you might check on Facebook to see if there are local groups of people who also do Disney pin trading, and if there are events in your area, because they do exist in other places outside of California and outside of Florida. But there are a lot of them that happen here in Orlando. GoPin Pro has them. The Figment guy has them. There are a lot of them. And if you follow me over on TikTok, you might see that I go to some of those. But those are a great option. Be on the lookout for them. You'll see them on social media. And they're kind of at random. They're at different places, hosted by different people all the time. But Disney also hosts pin trading events. There's a couple different versions of them, and they actually got rid of one version and now they're bringing it back. But every year they have usually at least one large pin trading event, usually at Coronado Springs, the resort here in Walt Disney World, because they use the conference center. There's also one happening at the Disneyland Hotel this fall as well. These are hosted and operated by the Disney company. You do have to pay to go to these. So these are a specially ticketed event, very similar to the Halloween parties, to the Christmas parties, to the after hour events. These are ticketed events you have to buy tickets for ahead of time, and they sell out fast. Very fast. But they are extremely fun. First and foremost, they will have exclusive pins that you can only buy at that event, which then means those are usually worth a little bit of money. But also they have different pin things where you can trade with other people. They'll have big boards sometimes where you can trade on the board. It's very fun, very cool. There's one this fall. And then also they just brought back the pin trading nights, which is usually just a singular night. This time it's actually on a weekday. That's this May in Coronado Springs. And I will be taking you guys with me for that. So make sure you're subscribed so that you can see where we go. and what we trade for at Coronado Springs at the end of May. I'm very, very excited for that one. This will be my first big event since I got into pin trading here at Walt Disney World, my first one hosted by the Walt Disney Company, but those are also an option as well. And honestly, if you were really into pin trading, you could plan your Walt Disney World vacation around one of those events. Also, one thing I totally forgot to mention, there is also pin trading on the Disney cruise lines. Now, I have not been on a cruise since I started pin trading, so I don't know that much about it, but I do know it is a thing. There are pin boards. You can trade with cast members. Some people even put pins on their stateroom door and like trade with other guests. There's trading amongst guests. There's a lot of pin trading on Disney cruise ships, and I've heard it was really, really easy at the beginning of the year to find those Walt Disney 25th anniversary hidden Mickeys actually on the cruise ships. So it is not just exclusive to the Disney parks, it is also on the cruise ships. Now, the last question to ask is, where is pin trading? Like, where is it specifically? Well, it's everywhere. Quite literally, if you are on Disney property, there is pin trading everywhere, including the store at MCO. So you get off your plane and you walk out into MCO in the main lobby, that Disney store there is pin trading there. There is a pin trading board. There are cast members with pin trading pads and lanyards. It quite literally is everywhere in Disney property. Your resorts, at Disney Springs, at the Disney parks. I think it's pretty much like every part. Now, different areas of Disney have obviously more pin trading than others, but for the most part, if you're on Disney property, there is a possibility of pin trading, which means you're going to want to carry those pins with you everywhere you go. Like, quite literally, I have a little thing of pins that stays in my purse at all moments in time in case I go to Disney and I want to pin trade. It is everywhere at the Disney parks and the Disney resort, including Disneyland as well. Now, you're saying, hey, but I want to know specifically, where are the boards? Where do the cast members kind of congregate that they might have pin trading pads and lanyards? Well, that is going to be the next couple parts of this series. We are going to be going to all 4 of the Disney parks, and I'm going to be showing you guys every single board and where they are, every single area that there might be cast members, and a lot of little hidden details on where to look for Walt Disney World pins. So make sure you are subscribed and ring the notification bell so you are notified when those videos get posted. I am very excited to share all this with you guys. You guys have been asking for this series for a while now, just basically the intro to pin trading, everything you need to know about pin trading and pin trading 101. And I've been working on this for a little while, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this very first video. I'm sure there are some things I missed. I'm sure there are some things that I forgot, but for the most part, this is your overall guide to pin trading in Walt Disney World. So if you guys liked this video, hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell because we do a whole lot of pin trading around here.